Hello everyone, welcome to Ronin Hood. Today it will be a review about the John Lee Practical. So histofield.com were really nice. They proposed to me to send me that new one to make a review with it. It's a great opportunity because I think it's a great produce because you have real ray skin in there. You have Ito cotton here, black. It's a classical black style like I like, you know. So you have a tsuba here. You can see a really beautiful tsuba. Fushi Kashira, classical too. And it's 269 euros, I think. It's a 1095 carbon steel. It's 72 centimeter nagasa, like you can see. It's really not expensive for a produce of that quality. So that's why I wanted to make that episode with, and we will see what will happen on a tameshigiri cutting test, 1150 grams. So it's kind of a little bit heavy for me, so I won't use it with one hand, and it's a nohi, so it's a tameshigiri sword, not a battodo sword. I really like the design because I think it's really cool that the tsuba has that design. It's classy, and I like the tsuka because it's not too big. It's fit well in the hand, so if you got my size you can use it, and if you are taller you can use it too. I think it's the perfect sword for someone who starts tameshigiri and is 1 meter 75 centimeter, 1 meter 80 centimeter. I like the kisaki. So the unboxing of that practical from John Lee was really nice. Of course, from the seller histofield.com, samuraikatana.com, it's always 24 hours to 72 hours for receiving your sword. So they are really good, and it's always well packaged on a good box and secured box for the shinken. I like the boxes from John Lee because their boxes for shinken are really appreciable because they preserve the product from every shock during shipping. So there you can see the nagasa. It's a 1095 carbon steel nagasa. Some of these pictures has been taken after tameshigiri omote cutting test, the first test, and after ninja fruit second test. New episode coming soon about how evaluate an age. That's why there is some stain on the blade for some pictures. 72.15 centimeter for the nagasa. So it's the perfect size for someone who is 1 meter 75 centimeter or 1 meter 80 centimeters. The weight is 1137 grams. I tried 3 techniques for the weight, and I took the more heavier measurements. The point of balance, I tried 2 techniques. One technique with my finger and a second one with that special set with weights and whetstones, and my angle measurement with a cover on it to preserve the blade from scratches. And you can see the beautiful point of balance. You can see the 1095 carbon steel blade. It's beautiful, beautiful blade. Now the tsuba. You can see it's a regular, beautiful tsuba with a beautiful design. The tsuka length is 30.2 centimeters, the thickness is 2.9 centimeters, and the width is 3.6 to 3.9 centimeters. The fuchi is casual, black casual, but nice to see. Kashira, the same. The menuki are with a gold color, representing some kind of dragons or something with wings, I think. The samegawa is with real ray skin, white ray skin. The ito is well tight, like you can see. For practitioner you need something really tight. I trained before making the review for 3 months, so I train every week with that shinken during 3 months before making measurements and omote cutting test. The abaki is a brass color abaki. The kurigata is nice, casual. Saya with black texture, and a regular koiguchi. Like Yarino Anzo, it's a really simple koiguchi, not as sophisticated than Anwei koiguchi, but it's working. It's just wood and koiguchi with black paint. Sakihaba 2.15 centimeters. Motohaba 3.1 centimeters. The H, the Ha, the opposite of the Ha is the Mune. So you can see there, here's the Ha. It's a very sharp edge of 1095 carbon steel, so it's a really hard steel. The sori, I made the measurements to have the more precise that I could measurement for the sori. Is on my measurements 1.8 centimeters. It's a nohi shinken, so no groove. It's a tameshigiri shinken. So the practical Johnny katana measurements, the point of balance were 12.8 centimeters. The point of balance is really relevant because, as I said before on the Anwei special episodes, the point of balance will help you to transfer your mass and to preserve your elbows or your back muscles, especially if the shinken is too long for your size or too heavy for your size. So the paper test for me is really important. I don't believe on the fruit, on the noodles. So I check with my right arm first, with a good amplitude, correct amplitude of movement. Focus to preserve my fingers, of course. And I can say that paper tests are really important because they reveal on the sound that make the blade on the paper which type of iron. I really make a difference between 1060 carbon steel blade on paper and 1095 carbon steel blade on paper. Of course, very sharp blade for both. The 95 carbon steel get through the paper more softly without opposition of force, it's like butter. With 1060 carbon steel, it's a little bit different. You have a sound that is more like a violin, the sound of a string. When it's cutting with the 1095 carbon steel on paper, it's more like a gentle, thinner string. There is almost no opposition of force, because slicing is not hitting, of course. So now it's a cutting paper test with the left arm, because I train with both arms, as Musashi did, and as the people from the Niten school style do, when you want to cut with two arms. So I think it's good to train with both arm and both hands, and especially when you feel that one arm worked too much during a week or a month. Now it's the drawing sword moment. So beginning with iaido is good to make evaluation of a blade, knowing if it's possible to cut with. So doing out and back your shinken helps to focus, preparing the proper attention for tameshigiri. It helps to assess the balance and the proper way to handle the shinken. The balance depends on the weight distribution made by the swordsmith. The nagasa weight combined with the size skills of the practitioner will create the cut's dynamic. A too long nagasa for your size can cause injury to your lower back. Too much weight on a blade for your size, muscles and joint possibilities can cause injuries too. Assessment of the blade's balance by practicing iaido is really important to know if I can cut with the sword without injury. The nagasa is a little bit too long for my size, 72 centimeters instead of 69, 70 centimeters, but it's still doable with proper attention. On this one, the balance is correct. From my opinion, it's a 6 on 10, so I have just to carry with the weight during dynamical move cut. A correct balance means that I can transfer my mass correctly and deal with the weight without too much tension on my arms. The koiguchi handle posture on your left hand when drawing out back the sword is really important in my opinion to calibrate your mind before tameshigiri. The tsuka handle posture on your right hand when drawing out back the sword is really important too. Our body has limitations: muscles mass, bones density, joints resistance, size segments that defines our possibilities and limits.
in my opinion, it's good to respect our limits and continuing to improve to have new limits more far than before. I had a really good experience with that tameshigiri session with the practical from John Lee. I was really surprised by two things. The first one is I was thinking that maybe it will be too heavy, a too heavy sword, because it's 100 grams more than the Anwe Special. But because the grip is really better, not because of the ray skin, but just because of the design of the grip, and because of the carbon steel that is a better quality, if my angle are good, I won't break the blade. Because of that two things, I really had a better experience than with the practical from Anwe. And that's not so logical, because the blade is too long and too heavy for my size. But because of the carbon steel, a better carbon steel, a 1095 carbon steel, and a better grip, I could have double cuts with really more easy possibilities. Instead of the special, my first double cut with the practical from John Lee was really easier than the Anwe ones. So I was really enjoying the moment. Even the weight is important. I deal with my back muscles and the way to transfer my mass. I used my left hand for all the session to preserve my right arm that trained too much with month. Simple cuts with no inertia are a really good way to improve angles, posture and handling in tameshigiri. I had more than one double cut with that sword. At least I had maybe 4 double cuts, so it's 4 times more than with the special from Anwe. I changed my technique. For the Anwe, I was not in a opposite movement of hand. For this one, I was in an opposite way to making double cuts, so it was easier too. I almost had the same number of omote. It was 6 omote, tameshigiri omote, that has been cut that day. For the special from Anwe, it was 8 omote for the multiple cut edition. I really prefer 1095 carbon steel. it has a better way to go through the material during the cut, and you almost have to put not so much power. You feel in a natural movement. The handle is really better than the too much big grip from the practical special from Anway. That was really slow me down, blocking my move. And for double cut it's impossible to go slow. It was my first triple cut. It's not technically a real triple cut because I cut the third part on the standing omote and not the flipping omote in the air. But it's still a triple cut. That proved that the handle for me and the carbon steel were more fitting with my way of practicing. I knew that it was more easy to practice with 1095 carbon steel, but since the Anya experience, I preferred practicing with 1060 carbon steel to correct my angles and skills to get back to a steel that is harder and more fragile. Right now I'm checking the edge to see if my angles were good and they didn't scratch the blade. And if it's still like new, and I'm checking my Koiguchi drawing back movements to be more focused and respecting the Koiguchi Saya material, because it's not my blade, it's the blade that Histofield.com sent to me, so I want to preserve it as more as I can. So that blade, for a person who is 1 meter 80 centimeters with 3 or 4 years of iaido, second or third black belt, would be really at optimal possibilities. Because of my size, I get limitations by my muscles mass, my joints, my skeleton, and my segments. But as you can see, I had another double cut with the flipping omote in the air, so I get satisfaction practicing with that shinken. And 4 double cut for the day, for me, it's really appreciable. Another one. I use my entire body to slow down the blade, because with the power and the mass, it's really difficult to stop it naturally with back muscles and the arm. Now I'm smelling the omote to see how dry it is, because after 4 hours you have to be more precise on your technique. a dryo mote is not so good for the blade. So I always check hour after hour. If it's necessary to adjust my technique for preserving the blade. It's almost the end of the tameshigiri session, and I'm really enjoying the last cut, trying to still be precise, focus, safety, Budo. So now the conclusion notes. For me, the sword results on the nagasa it was 7 on 10 because of the size. Most of the people can use it. 1 meter 75 centimeter to 1 meter 80 centimeters. Sharpness, very sharp, so 7 on 10. Weight, 7 on 10. Grip, I think it's a good grip, 8 on 10. The steel quality is 8 on 10. For me, it's a real practical shinken, so 7 on 10. The balance, 6 on 10. It's not the best balance, but it's doable. Sturdiness, 7 on 10. Design, me, I like it, 7 on 10. Materials, it's ray skin, so I put 8 on 10. And I think it's a really good value for money, so 9 on 10 for the good value for money. The shop seller, so katanasamurai.com website, 8 on 10. Histofield.com website, 8 on 10. Their listening is 8 on 10. Helpfulness, 8 on 10. Professional quality advice, 8 on 10. And martial arts knowledge, 8 on 10. Thank you for having watched this video. You can follow me for previews of episodes on Instagram and TikTok at the Ronin Hood. I hope, dear Ronins, that you enjoyed that video. Stay focused, mind sharp, and body healthy. And see you soon for future reviews on Ronin Hood.